Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to talk about an error I made yesterday. I got a date wrong. I said 1977 when I actually meant to say 1777. It was what I would like to consider it was an honest mistake, and of course, I was corrected. In the comments, it wasn't excruciating or terrible, but it did make me ask the question. It was not perfect, but was it necessary? Was kind of the video that the theme of that understanding. And now I have to govern through correction. So I did contemplate after seeing those. I did put in the responses. Yes, I definitely made that error. It was not on purpose. I thought about it and I was like, man, that's kind of in line with definitely not perfect. But I hope the message was necessary. But it was definitely not done on purpose. Whether or not I was thinking 1777 and just put out 1977, it was completely error. But one of the respondents did say he would have preferred me to redo the video because it was distracting. I don't know if I mentioned 1977 like a whole lot of times, but nonetheless, I did ask, hey, I understand that you did recognize that there was error, but was the message lost on it? And he did come back and say, no, the message wasn't lost at all. Um, those are the things that are important to me. How do you govern through correction? One of the suggestion was, reshoot it. And I sat and I thought about it. And I may say something on stage one day that I can't reshoot. You know, um, you know, I'm not sitting on this camera app deciding whether or not I can re-edit. I'm not doing edits. This is live. What you get is literally me coming out, getting ready to kick off the day, and putting those thoughts out, or whenever I do it. So it's all live. I really hope that everything I say is perfect. What's going to be my niche comment that is going to get people to believe in, hey, this individual that is a candidate for governor of Florida is wanting to give us legislative authority, the authority to decide our futures going forward. And he is giving us the content of his policies that he wants to turn into legislation so that we have something to give out, to divvy out. And he's also asking that if we do catch an error, we do catch a mistake, or we do catch these things, that we say something. So it was good to see and be able to provide that feedback. I don't know how thick my skin is. You're gonna have to test that. You're all gonna have to test those waters, and that's important. Every representative needs those waters tested before they get into office, so they know how thick their skin is. I've made promises to never take money, from any organizations or anywhere, period, because I just have this concern about it. I have this concern that why are we accepting money when we're supposed to be doing what the majority of our citizens can't even afford to do, which is lobby you to their needs. They can't do it. The only thing they can do is tell you what's wrong. And that's one of the main things that I ask is that if you ever come across my videos talking about being a governor, that you tell me what's wrong and you put me to the test to sit down, do the research, do the studying so that I can come back and tell you what we're going to do to fix it, or, bring in or breach a gap in understanding of why we can, why we can't, and what we're going to do. I'm going to get to a point where you guys are going to understand the can'ts, they won't work with me. We're either going to do it. We're gonna get it done for the people. If we have a roadblock, we're going to figure out how to navigate around it, over it, or under it. But we're gonna get through to the goal, because that's the point. The point is to make sure that your vote doesn't stop with your representative, that your vote far surpasses your representative and continues to advocate that power of the individual. You will create your idea of unity. That's not for me to create. I'm the conduit to make it happen. You push your conduit to make it happen. Create the pipeline. You put the power through. That's the idea. Giving you the authority to take your vote past just putting someone in a seat is very important at every level of elections. Every level. You have to be able to have legislative authority. When we get to this point, this is where things happen, and we're going to make it convenient. We're not going to mess around. We're going to make it convenient. We're not going to make it to where you got to travel 800 miles just to come and vote in person. That's ridiculous. We're going to find out the issues. We're going to hear things like, oh, you want to use technology, but what happens if it gets hacked or someone puts in bad data or false data? We're going to put those companies that are going to elect to give us security and safeguards to the test. We're going to make them protect those rights and liberties that everyone asks for so that we can ensure this happens. Everybody in my generation knows that you were able to pick your telephone up and decide who was going to be our next American Idol. And they got those votes pretty good and pretty right. So don't tell me that we can't vote on legislative lines using the concept and the ideal and even the technology that should be better today than it was then to vote and poll if indeed legislation that is going to affect the majority of Floridians is a thing. That should be happening everywhere, but it's not, because the thought processes have to be there. It is very complicated to touch every single area of the economy in one conversation in 10 minutes. But if there is something that is bothering you that you would like me to discuss directly and put my thoughts about legislative authority in there so that we can get to that place, it's important. Whether you are for or against an individual doesn't matter if your vote only stops at a single vote. You need to be able to have legislative authority. Again, on our ballot, it's going to come up weed legalization and abortion rights. Go ahead and start getting yourselves educated on which direction you want to go. It's going to be a yay or a nay on the ballot. So get yourself ready for which direction you want to go. There will be times where that's important. We're going to see what our representatives put out, how they are trying to get you to vote on this and why it's important. Those are the things that you should be looking for. As it gets closer, I'm going to tell you how I think you should vote on it and why it matters. But we should give our representatives an opportunity. Maybe they are peeking in saying, hey, we got a candidate out here that says we're not doing enough to empower our constituents to be able to make changes. What are we going to do to implement that? If the individuals, and I have not looked at the list, so that's why you'll never hear me say people's names, but the individuals who are running also for the exact same seat as governor or any seat, and they're not saying that they want to give you more legislative authority, I think you should look into that. I think that should be a place of contention for you, a place of pushback for you. Hey, there is a candidate that simply says he wants us to have power in what happens past the single vote. We have to govern through correction. They're going to have to speak to you through correction. And there will be times where I will need to be corrected, checks and balances. And I'm going to answer to those corrections. You're going to decide how many people push me forward. That's just no ifs, ands, and buts about that. So I would continue to ask you, yes, if you hear me say something that's wrong, 100%, put it out there. As anybody would say, please, by all means, be respectful, a little less sarcasm, things of that nature. But again, my as thick as my skin needs to be, my emotional skin needs to be in this arena, put it to the test. Press it hard. Make sure that you weather that steel properly, so that when you get your representative in that office, they're going to hold firm for what you have brought them forward to do. It's very important. You guys have a great day, and be talking to you soon.